Welcome, Sojourners. You have found yourself a cozy place here at Sojourners Awake. I'm Jonathan, and this is a bonus episode of Stars and Wishes. This happens after every session where I go around the table and ask for some highlights and hopes, stars and wishes from each of the players. It's a great way to recap the game. It's a great way to debrief and hear from other perspectives what they noticed in the storytelling for tonight's session. I hope you enjoy this intimate time together with friends as we are around the table discussing what we love about each other's storytelling abilities. This bonus episode of Stars and Wishes is directly linked to the Bookish and the Brave, episode 339th anniversary, and how ironic. I hope you enjoy. And so for now, our story continues.
Wow.
Well done, everybody.
Very nice.
Yes, well done.
Good. I hate not having a host hospitable environment, so I really apologize about the internet.
It's okay.
I have to look for a different provider or something because this isn't going to work.
I'm sorry. That's nuts. That was one of my stars tonight. Is how you rolled with the punches of our.
Man. Well, you know, you guys have got quite a rhythm, and I did want to acknowledge that I can almost like picture the four of you around a table, just passing this conversational piece, and there's such a smooth rhythm that takes place that I even saw more exemplified once the cameras are off.
Yeah, it was fun.
Wasn't as many visual cues when the cameras were off, but
No,
I think it was
I
good.
missed those.
Yeah,
But
it's all good.
actually, you can put your cameras on right now. I think we're okay.
It says that you've
I've locked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That's all good.
Okay. It's all good. Anyway, Stars and Wishes, and welcome, Rhett.
Woo!
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much.
It's
been fun.
I was very much surprised at the level of deference that you gave the bookends. I thought that was really cool. We got so used, you get used to the characters, but then you realize they are positions of authority and power, and it's really good to see that reflected off of other people.
Given his backstory that I think only you know about, there's more at work than just their position. So yeah.
Well, what about you, so Brett? Why don't you start us off? What's the star moment you had?
Oh boy, I liked Vaughn tonight. Every bit the dad, and thoughtful in his judgment. Obviously he has a very clear reason to dislike irony, but his balance. I'm not sure what your alignment is, but I'm assuming it's a neutral.
I'm chaotic good.
Chaotic good. Okay, well, that's pretty close to neutral. Yeah.
I was swayed pretty hard over the last little bit of our deal when my goodness was taken advantage of by several bad guys, and Vaughn just kind of decided, well, it's better to take off evil people's heads than to let them backstab me again. So he's working his way back from that.
Gotcha. But I appreciated your ability to overlook the personal slight and problems that irony imposed on you through his negligence. But I thought that was well done. And Jonathan, I appreciated Old Man Whiskers. There's a benefit to calling yourself scatterbrained all the time. I liked it.
Yeah. I'm glad you caught that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Brandon, star moments.
I really like, Jonathan, that we followed through with Philo and irony. We could just let the NPCs kind of live in their own world, but I really like bringing them back in and closing all the loops. That's really cool.
Good.
Patrick being kind to Philo, taking the time to go let him know, like, hey, we've taken care of the mess that you got yourself involved in, and just continuing to be insulting and having no filter, you're gonna get smacked so hard someday. It might be Vaughn.
Yeah.
Ted, I love the fluffy daddy brain.
Mhm.
And Twitter pated. That's a new
Yeah.
one for me.
Oh, okay.
Rhett, I love Ascendanton's voice.
Yeah. It's yeah.
And like Jonathan said, that the deference makes for an easy hook. It makes it easy for our characters to like you.
I was hoping for that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it reminds me of another series I watched on YouTube. They did like a season 1, and then season 2 was the next generation, and they spoke with such reverence about, and one character in particular spoke with such reverence about the original cast or the original characters, and that has stood out a lot. So I think this is going to stand out in the minds of the listeners too.
Yes.
Cool. Ted.
I mean, so much stuff. Patrick, as much as Vaughn is driven to insanity by Sterling, Ted really appreciates how quick-witted you are when it comes to all of these little things, these little rants that you go on. You know, you do it so often with him, and they all fall in. Like you're never, I never hear you say anything and I'm like, that was dumb. Like how that doesn't fit at all. I mean, they're all dumb, but
Yeah.
you know, that was dumb and it didn't fit, and it, you know, it sidetracked the story. Like every time you go on one of those little rants, it pushes the story forward. And I think that's a gift that you have that is pretty phenomenal. I really, really like that. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. So many good things. I think, Jonathan, the way that you brought the Aramonte thing together and gave me that space to go there. And yeah, I think Ted took over a little bit tonight. So hopefully it bleeds into Vaughn okay, and it's not too much.
did.
But
No,
Ted's
it's good.
I mean, I can't help it. I just think about a beautiful little daughter, and I lose my mind. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. But really fun to get back together and to play again. And when you typed that whole thing about us, sounds like you're just sitting around in a circle talking. I saw that pop up, and I hadn't even considered that was. Yeah, it just seemed so natural. I hadn't even thought about it. And then when I saw that pop up, I realized, oh gosh, we've been chatting without Jonathan for like 5, 6, 7 minutes now, and it's just happening, and it's beautiful, and it's super smooth. And so, you know, as much as I'd love to take credit for all of that, and Patrick and Brandon and Rhett, you have set the stage for us to be able to function in that way, and you being confident enough in the setting that you've put before us, and in your ability to adjust to whatever things we decide to do or say, gives us the freedom to really go there, and that's phenomenal. I think you've set the groundwork for us to be in this place now where we're at with chemistry and communication, and so I'm grateful for that.
Well, that makes me proud. And yes, I think tonight went to a whole new level, and I really did. I watched the level of freedom and storytelling that took place, and realized I don't need to call for any checks. I don't need to interject. This thing has like self-started, and you did push the boundaries of a player, so to speak, but it worked, and it was just like, no, that works. And if you saw the panic on my face, that's definitely like more excitement than anything, because I realized like, oh my gosh, this thing has got inertia, right? Like it feels good, and so I gotta rub my face or I gotta rub my head, like, okay, you know, this thing's taking off without me. And it's that rush of, you know, like you're not pedaling anymore, you're just flying, man. It's just, it feels good. I would like to take a minute, something I wrote down, upturned bucket in the boat. Thank you, Brandon, for those tiny, tiny details. It's so visual for me to see that and to get the senses, bringing in the senses of depth and perception and proprioception and all that. You do a good job with that. I've mentioned, Rhett, I didn't think about it, but the voice adds a lot of texture to the sound that is produced here. We have a lot of vocal ranges, and that's just something I've been thinking about, like the pleasure of many seasons in this sound experiment that it is. I think you did a good job with your voice, Rhett, just having that breathy, patient, and the deference that he had for the bookends, because everything in tabletop role-playing is relative.
Mm-hmm.
What is 100 gold? It's your reflection of that 100 gold. Do you walk around proudly with jingling pockets, or do you rub the 2 pennies together because that's actually impoverished? I mean, it just depends on your reactions. And I think, Rhett, you did a good job just coming right out of the gate with lots of reactions instantly. I mean, you did not. That's the hardest part about melding players together, is piecemealing those reactions together so they make sense. And you already had it written. You had it ready, and I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Patrick, something else you do, Patrick, too, is like, well, there I was, and you just pick right back as if a conversation had been going. And I love that smoothness. And you're really good at reading my periods. Like when I put a period on a sentence, you're very good at picking up when I do a comma, and then when Jonathan does a period. And then Patrick just, so Hawkins, what was I saying right there? And it's like, oh man, it feels, it's just so good. No awkward pauses. Ted, again, I think just the star moment I had is when I watched you just write the scene and you set the stage. And at that point, I remember going through my notes being like, okay, actually this coincides with, yes, right there. And I can just jump right into Aramonte's history. And that was fun. Patrick.
Yeah, so good to be back, and awesome time, gents. Thanks. So stars for me were Ted when he was doing our voices in the intro. It was just like, okay, he went for it. And then Ted as the father, and just that goofy face that he kept going back to and recapitulating was like, oh my goodness, yeah, I could see that. And then just his interactions with people today was really like on point. Like I think there was not one that didn't play his character to spot on. So I think that was a big star. For Rhett, his first words being able to talk was talking to the dog. You've been lonely.
That's right. That's
just like
Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good boy. But then the hospitality and the order of him, and then the way that you brought out, without actually mentioning, kind of you let everyone's imagination run wild with what was going on with your hands. It brought up very much like Silas from Da Vinci Code to me, like kind of that penance, that kind of like, I did wrong, I messed up, but I've got to make it hurt in my physical. And then the way you played that out with, you could have easily healed yourself. And I think Sterling realized that once he saw what you did to Irony. It was kind of like, so yeah, that was really, really good.
That's cool.
And then the quickness with you were like Irony, like that's not going to feel good in the morning. For Brandon, the use of the shadow and the way that you brought that into, and you were just like, I'm going to go off. I'm going to go to the idle hand, the shop, and then the using of the shadow, and then dropping in the fact you went to the abyss when this guy is already like blowing his mind, and then right at the end, your Irony is, don't go to Boshin. Just trust me.
Yeah. Do not go in there. Yeah.
It's a silly place. Just stay away. Yeah. And then finally, Jonathan has said, rolling with the punches, because I know we probably took you to some places that you were just like, but you like dropped in Warforged, I think, with Lord Basile. I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is, and then so much more things, like little nuggets, like the Black Lotus, the Noncoy Monastery, the Captain Swisher, all these different things. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, that's right, we're opening back up. Like we closed all these nice loops, and now we're opening back up, and it's getting me excited again. So, and then when we were like, okay, we only have 3 days, but then you were like, oh, actually, like the little like. it was seamless. It was perfect. So it was kind of, because it made us think, okay, crap, we got 3 days, we got 3 days, we got 3 days, but then it's like, oh, actually we got time. So yeah, just a really great time, gents. Thanks.
It was great. I didn't realize this would happen, but just bringing in detect thoughts and getting to see, it's really cool. That was a good moment of exploration. There's no way y'all could have ever gotten that out without the use of, scrying around in his mind. And you got to see Irony's a noble. He's got a proud father, mother, lots of expectations, and then Hawkins and Vaughn tying that into your own story. Man, it really hit home. I was like, whoa, that's a really good theme. And I did not intend that at all, but it was a really cool. I didn't write that into Irony thinking like, oh, I want him to reflect that high pressure parenting. And
I saw it as hopefully a good way to gain Vaughn's trust also, because I think I see him as the father of the group, and and so I thought if I could be of service to him in something that's very troubling, that's a pretty heavy responsibility to have somebody's future on the line, and it's your call. I thought maybe if I could put his mind at ease, that would be helpful.
Yeah, some very interesting challenges tonight, and I appreciate how y'all took them seriously and solved these challenges. And like Brandon said, because I love it, closing those loops and just finishing it off well. So thank you again for tonight, guys. I appreciate y'all playing, and we will see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for making the time, guys. Jonathan. I know you've had to deal with a very busy schedule.
All right, love you guys. Y'all take care.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.
Good night.
Good night.